Hi, everyone. So, I have orientation this week for school, but I had to do one more Andrew Yang video because I don't know how much time I'm going to be having moving forward. And when I rush things or don't think them through, it just doesn't come out as well as it should. Um, so this is actually a great uh, day to do this because just this morning, CBS had a whole segment on Andrew Yang. They've the mainstream media evidently, and to their credit, even though we we kind of forced their hand a little bit, or a lot of it, depending on the way you look at it. But I think what's been important about Yang Gang, so to speak, is that it is not like this virulent, like vitriolic, like scary thing. It's folks who are just like, okay, now it's time to solve the problems. We someone like myself, and I think there's probably a lot of folks who are watching this who are in the same or in a similar boat. I've kind of been watching this from a few different angles. I still read the New York Times and watch some CNN and stuff, and I watch Fox and but then I do a lot of stuff online where I see what's going on, and it's quite obvious to me that Yang does the same, or he's aware of the big picture, and that's what I feel like a lot of this is. It's a combination of understanding the problems, which someone like a Bernie Sanders is very good at, saying, hey, there's this grand injustice, and identifying it as a problem, and then but his solutions are clunky and not particularly elegant, and I think actually potentially quite dangerous. Like federal jobs guarantee, or the Green New Deal, all this stuff. It's all stuff that, like, I do think Bernie means well, and I voted for Bernie in the last primary, even though we know he got screwed, and on that end, and I'm not as far left as Bernie. I don't have the level of trust in the federal government that he appears to have, and that a lot of progressives seem to have. I think Yang Gang is a group of people who, by and large, understand like the American credo, which is to say that most people get this wrong about conservatives. Conservatives aren't suspicious of big government, so to speak, or bureaucracy, because of they're mostly, and like pro Second Amendment and pro free speech, First Amendment, which used to be just like the just standard liberal thing, and I think to most liberals it still is, and I would include myself in that. But he's the only person who is simultaneously his plans meet the goals of what the progressives want on the level of making sure that people can like live and survive and all of that. Those minor things. But it's also done in a way that that Republicans and libertarian types can look at and say, oh, well, it's not just creating this gigantic new bureaucracy. I don't know if it's ready, if this idea is ready to come out, but let's put it to you this way. I think that what Donald Trump did in terms of changing the way, I think he will actually wind up changing the way we think about the presidency. And I think that if properly used by somebody who was responsible and was generally considered to, have the best interests of the country at heart, but, and had a strong connection to his voters, but had maybe a different skill set than the skill set Donald Trump has. I think Andrew Yang could. I'll just say it. Imagine if the president of the United States, the next president of the United States, Andrew Yang, in this situation, did keep his Twitter account. What if he also tweeted? Except for, I'm sure he'd be much more judicious, and someone say responsible in the way he tweeted. But you'll notice that right now, Yang doesn't really need to punch back at anybody. He doesn't need to do what Donald Trump did because he has a bunch of people behind him who are simply saying, like, Yang says, hey, my mic was off. That was weird. And so people look into it, and it turns out he was telling the truth. And it's like he says something, and it's not like people just slavishly, we agree with everything he says. It's not like that. It's not, nor should it be. Like treating him like some kind of like deity, like he's some savior. It's like no. In a weird way, I heard someone say this. I don't know if this is true because I know very little about Chinese culture, and I know Yang's parents come from Taiwan. But I think in a weird sort of way. Well, I know that China. I've heard it explained to me. The people think of the government as the manifestation of the people. Like individuals see the government as the manifest. It's like, it's not like this thing. Like we see in the West, we're more like, we look at it as there's the state, and then there's like the individual down here, and the state. Largely because of our history and the wars we fought and stuff like that, is this powerful thing that controls you, and you have to push back against the state. As to where in that Chinese way, it's a manifestation of it, as I said. So I feel like in some sort of strange way, if you had a president who could communicate with the people as openly and honestly, and because in some weird, I know it's weird to use the word honesty with Donald Trump, but he is weirdly honest, or certainly authentic is a better word. If you had Andrew Yang in there, and let's say he would send out a tweet similar to the MSNBC situation, just like very like calmly, like, hey, this is what's going on, and if it's something that the American people should be calling bullshit on Congress for or something, again, using the same sort of measured, judicious thinking, not like this mob mentality stuff of like him being like, get him, or something like that, because I don't think that's something that Yang would do, and B, that doesn't seem to be the spirit of Yang Gang. I think most of us want our institutions to work. We understand that in order to do so, the people need to have individuals that they can trust, and that that all of us are dedicated to certain principles rather than people. So, we're being dedicated to the idea of truth, and then there will be an element of faith that comes in, to where it's like, okay, well, if Yang is saying this, okay, so let's look into whatever he's saying, and if that's really the case, that let's say that there's some piece of legislation that's on the floor, and there's some kind of something shady that's keeping it from going through, something that the American public would not be pleased with, to say the least, Yang again could just say something to the people, and Yang Gang, which I really hope will not be just Andrew Yang. I hope it will be the American people coming to a place where it's like, wow, okay, if that's what's happening in Washington right now, if this guy is being honest about what's happening in Washington right now, then let's come together. Let's sit at the table. If you're gonna yell and scream and be crazy, we've had years of yelling, screaming, crazy people. Okay, we're like, we get it. Now, everybody else, let's look at this. What's going on, and now what do we do? How do we function? So, my point in bringing the Chinese, the more Chinese idea of the government being a manifestation of the people, a president who is that connected to the people, used in the proper sense, used in the proper way, could actually take a sprinkling of that notion. And interestingly enough, it is the thing that is seemingly almost the opposite of what Americans tend to believe, that will oddly help revivify that system, and help make whole the spirit of democracy itself in a much in a much needed way. So I don't know how wise it is to come out and say, yeah, I think Andrew Yang is probably going to keep Twitter, and probably should, because I think that will make the powers that be even more hesitant. But to their credit, they've, it's kind of, I would imagine it's partly because their hand has been forced by folks like the folks that are watching this right now. I think that if we make it known that this is not something to be treated lightly, this is not that Twitter the Twitter account of the president, the personal Twitter account of the president, that is only controlled by him, that would be in this case only controlled by Yang, it is not something. It would have a different set of implicit rules. It's like this is not a place to attack. This is not something that you use to attack people or take out your political enemies or call people names or whatever. But it is a way of like truth telling when it becomes very necessary because the government apparatus is not functioning properly and is not doing its job. And so at that point, it would be Yang just saying, hey, this is what's going on. Then us as the people trying to be fair, being genuinely fair to like both sides. It's just like, okay, so what is he saying? What's this? Is that true? Does this check out? And we all figure it out. And then we say, okay, that's not cool. Or we say, I don't know about that. That's like, we feel more ambivalent about it. But if the people are given the right information, I think we can help the president and Congress or whatever it needs to be done to actually get done, instead of having this stupid gridlock that's all based in money, or it's largely based in money and in ideology. So that's something to chew on. Anyways, I don't know how much time I'm gonna have to be doing videos like this. This channel isn't going anywhere. There's a lot of stuff I have to that's coming down the pipe, but I don't know how consistent I'll be able to be. I will do my damnedest, and will do my damnedest to make sure it's stuff that is interesting and people would actually want to see. Because I hate rushing things, and there are plenty of things on this page that I think are rushed, and I wish I could have taken more time on. But so I'm trying to get away from that. But, anyways, folks, thank you for watching, and there's more to the CBS interview that I think is really quite interesting, and again, he's just going to keep going up. I'll see y'all later. Yang gang.